And welcome back to John's Sports Corner this Wednesday afternoon, the last Wednesday in the month of Reuben. Let's talk football. Jamaica drawn in Group C of the Concacaf Gold Cup scheduled for June 14th through July 6th. And the tournament will take place in 14 stadiums in these United States. The other teams in the group are Panama, Guatemala, and Guadeloupe. Two teams from each group advance to the quarterfinals. The group stage from June 14th to the 24th. The quarterfinal round, June 28th and 29th. The semifinal, July 2nd. The final, July 6th. In Group A, it will be Mexico, Costa Rica, and Suriname. Group B, Canada, Honduras, El Salvador, and Curacao. In Group D, the United States, Haiti, Trinidad and Tobago, and guest team Saudi Arabia. Moving back across the pond to the land of wood and water in Jamaica and the Jamaica Premier League. It's the final weekend of Jamaica Premier League preliminary round, and one of four teams face relegation. Veer already has been demoted, but one of Humble Lion, Chapelton Maroons, Mullines United, and Harbourview will join them Sunday night. On Sunday, Veer hosts Chapelton Maroons. Mullines United has a tough one against Cavalier. Humble Lion also a tough one against league leaders Mount Pleasant, while Harbourview also have to pull out all the stops at Arnett Gardens. The remaining games on Sunday, Tivoli Gardens takes on Montego Bay United. Portmore plays Racing, while Waterhouse plays Dunbeholden. Now, scores from last weekend, Harbourview 6-0 over Veer. Montego Bay tripped up Cavalier 1-0. Same score, Dunbeholden 1-0 over Portmore. Mount Pleasant 3-0 over Mullines United. Chapelton Maroons and Tivoli Gardens in a 2-2 stalemate. Racing 2-0 over Humble Lion, and Arnett Gardens 2-0 over Waterhouse. Now, the top six teams going into Sunday's games, Mount Pleasant on 90 points, followed by Montego Bay United 75, Arnett Gardens 73, Cavalier 66, Portmore 63, Tivoli Gardens 55 points ahead of Waterhouse with the same amount of points, but ahead of Waterhouse on goal difference. Meanwhile, the leading goal scorers going into Sunday's final preliminary round of games are Warner Brown of Arnett Gardens with 21 goals, Jalmara Calvin Cavalier 19 goals, Andre Fletcher Waterhouse 13 goals, Raheem Edwards Mount Pleasant also 13 goals, Danny Green Mount Pleasant with 12 goals, while Shaquille Steen of Cavalier 12 goals. In Jamaica Women's Premier League results, Fraser's whipped 2-1 over Cavalier. Los Perfectos, the Bob Marley song over Proven FC, One Love. University of the West Indies, 3-0 over Springers United. Arnett Gardens, 3-0 over Wi-Fi United, while Mile Gully, 4-0 over Federal United. Going back across the pond to English Premier League football, Bournemouth and Manchester United in a 1-1 stalemate. Liverpool 5-1 over Tottenham. Chelsea 1-0 over Everton. Brighton 3-2 over West Ham United. Newcastle 3-0 over Ipswich. Fulham 2-0 over Southampton, and Wolverhampton Wanderers 3-0 over Leicester City. And what a season for Mo Salah and Liverpool. Their 20th English League title and second in 5 years. But the celebration for the 2020 league title, nothing like this one, Trevor. 2020 was, of course, COVID lockdown year.
Oh,
But
yes.
on Sunday, Liverpoolians were celebrating way before game time, and then the dam burst following the 5-1 win over Tottenham.
Oh boy. And they're resigning they're resigning Salah, right?
They signed Salah.
Okay.
He has been signed.
Okay. Good.
Yes. And all's well in Liverpool.
Okay.
In UEFA Champions League semi-final this afternoon, what a game. Barcelona and Inter Milan in a 3-3 stalemate.
Oh.
Truly some game to watch. And at one point, I actually thought Inter would have pulled out the win. Next week's return game would come down to away goal rule. So the 3 goals scored by Inter will be crucial in next week's return game.
Okay.
Same thing with the yesterday's Paris Saint-Germain game against Arsenal. Paris Saint-Germain traveled to Arsenal and beat them 1-0.
Oopsie.
Going back home, that 1 goal could be crucial in the return leg.
That away goal.
The away goal rule.
You know, John, I've been meaning to ask this question. You know, every time we mention either Real Madrid or PSG, we know that Mbappe went to Real Madrid, but we have not been hearing much about Benzema. Where is Benzema, John?
Karim Benzema?
Yes. Because you remember he left Real Madrid after last season before they get mapped.
Karim Benzema. Where is Karim Benzema?
I think he went to Saudi Arabia. But you know, while we have been hearing like some sounds from Ronaldo or on some of the even Neymar when he was there, but Benzema seems to have melted into the background. But he did.
Karim Benzema.
He did take the money and went to one of his African.
Yes, he is in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
it was a great tool. This
Google
is. Yes,
but we have not been hearing too much about him. That's well, when Ronaldo was still pops up every now and then.
Yeah, he pop. Yeah, but the Saudi Arabia League is still building, if I remember, and I don't have them making the same mistake that NASL made when professional soccer came to the US. When they were signing a lot of, I don't want to call them over the hill players like Pele and Beckenbauer, and that instead of building young from the youth.
Name brands.
Yeah. In order to draw crowds, I guess, people to draw fans in the seats, in the stands. Yeah. So I hope they're not making that same mistake, but they don't spoil, no, Trevor.
Oh, that is true.
I don't spoil, boy. Anyway, moving along to the world of netball, Jamaica Sunshine Girls superstar Janelle Fowl Nemhard returned to action with her West Coast Fever in the Suncorp Super League on Saturday. And the Fever win their first game of the season. Janelle delivered a 59 goal performance from 60 attempts. to defeat the Melbourne Vixens 67-57. The Fever opened the 2025 campaign with back-to-back losses.
Oh.
In other games, Melbourne Mavericks 71-56 over Giants Netball. Sunshine Girl Shimona Nelson Jock completed 60 of 63 attempts for the Mavericks. New South Wales Swifts defeated Romelda Aiken George's Adelaide Thunderbirds 65-57. Thunderbirds also have Sunshine Girl defensive specialists, Shamira Sterling Humphrey and Latanya Wilson in their lineup. And let's go across the Caribbean now. Grenada's Anderson Peters and Afi Fletcher voted the nation's Sportsman and Sportswoman of the Year. Peters won bronze in the javelin at last year's Paris Olympic Games, reaffirming his status as one of the world's best javelin throwers. He also had a season-best 90.61 meters in August of 2024. Meanwhile, West Indies women's leg spinner Afi Fletcher maintained her position with the West Indies team as a vital contributor and top bowler in the Caribbean side.
Okay.
Professor SosoBone, the government of St. Lucia just made a commitment that Jamaica could absolutely not do.
Okay.
The government of St. Lucia has reportedly pledged to cover all domestic expenses for double Carifta gold medalist J.D. Emmanuel over the next 4 or 5 years.
John?
The 16-year-old won the under 17, 100, and 200 meters at the just concluded Carifta Games. She won the 100 in 11.50 seconds and the 200 in 23.47 seconds. Yes, Trevor.
I'm going to ask you a question, John. Any members of the government of Jamaica, John, ever run at champs or pen relays or actually took part in any sport, John?
The former Grace Kennedy guru, Don Webby.
He was not an elected official. he was not an elected official, John.
Fully elected. Has any I can't answer that one.
Danny was a nominated, appointed senator, John. He was never an elected official. So
I don't know if Babsy ran at champs.
John, Babsy is no chicken, John.
Well, put it this way, Trevor. Neither am I, but I did run one year champs. That's a minor park.
because John, sometimes interest is driven, actions is driven by interest, John.
Yeah, but Trevor, should I say, let's be fair, in Jamaica, we don't just have one 17-year-old under 17 who is a good athlete, We have several.
Yes, but you have to treat it.
Can the government really spend that kind of money? Look, it's a family now that they're dealing with now, Trevor. It's not just the athlete,
Yeah,
from what the Minister of Sports, what's his name, Kenson Casimir, reportedly confirmed that they're going to cover rent, food, electricity, water for the athlete and her family.
Yes, sir. And we call it a scholarship, and in soccer we call it a scholarship, John.
A scholarship for the family, Trevor?
Well, in soccer they do that, John. We spoke about that. that when they decide to take a young identified talent in soccer, they
but that is a pro, Trevor. She's not a pro.
But you have to treat your talents as pro, John. We have 16-year-old graduates.
We have 16. Let me fair.
Hold on. We have 16-year-old. We have 16-year-old graduating colleges right now, John. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you have the talent, you have to make exception for the talent, John. Okay, you have to make the exception. We have geniuses.
For the Trevor, you think Jamaica has so many under 17s who are talented? You think Jamaica government really could, I would say at least 20 across the, I don't know. Well, they can take care of family, rent, water, electricity. That is, I think that would be asking too much of it. When the roads need fixing.
Well, John, the bottom line is this: Jamaica has no shortage of money, and if the government does not take
Trevor, Jamaica do what?
Have no shortage of money, John. I mean, John. I mean, listen. I don't want to talk about bank accounts now, John. But I'm saying that Jamaica have no shortage of money. Okay, so when the government can go about and give themselves 300% increase, John, they're sending a clear message to the population that the money is there.
There are money.
Okay, that the money is available. Therefore, they want to take some credit for creating all that money, and there's nothing wrong with that because corporations and the big companies do that. If you move a company from a $1 million stage to a $1 billion stage, you should not complain when the CEO or the president of the company gets an elaborate sum as compensation. We have a track record of producing, John, and most of it is organic. When you say organic, most of the kids who are running at Champs, John, the government is not providing them with the nutrition that they need, John.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it is strictly on organic. That they're just talented, and we cannot claim that we developed talent, John. Like we take teachers and we put them in teachers' college, and we develop teachers and we let them specialize in various areas of science or mathematics, and they become very adept at teaching those subjects. Okay,
but the government is not responsible for the development of our athletic talent.
The government is responsible, John. It's just that they don't take the responsibility. In the United States and other countries, when a corporation decides to put a stadium in a city, they talk about the ripple effect of the investment, how many jobs are going to be created, and how much taxes is going to be paid by the employees. And this ripple effect on this surrounding small business as people comes into the community and they start counting the input and the effect. $50 million. West Indian Carnival in Brooklyn, they say that it brings about $300 million into the city every weekend when it takes place. Therefore, the government have the responsibility to make sure it is safe, to make sure that they have enough policemen there to provide security. And if they don't have enough on the inside, then they need to import some. Because that's what happened in California when they have a fire and the government have a responsibility to put out the fire. Whether it be the federal government or the state or the city we're speaking about, they have a responsibility to do it. And if they don't have enough firemen there, they have to import some. So I'm saying is athletics and track and all those things to be treated as a subject in school, John, just like you teach math and English. Yes, we talk about we used to have recess, John. And yes, was it organized recess? We had PE, physical education. That was organized. Okay. If you're going to free school, the government was paying for it. Okay, the government was paying for it. And if you decide that you have a talent that you really want to develop, a superstar, a quarterback, because he's that gifted, then there should be space made, John. Okay, for that talent to be developed. That is why Asafa Powell is complaining, because when he was running, he was alone out there by himself. Okay? Alone by himself at that time. And he's saying that he would like to see some upgrade because, and as I said, rightly so, his logic is if he had more support, maybe he would have done much better.
Although the support he needed probably psychological.
That that too, motivation. When you know,
it wasn't physical, Trevor.
No, well, John, when you lose a race that you wanted to win, John, you do not come out of it with your heart full of a positive reaction to it. When you get beaten by the same track and field athlete 2 times in a row, and in your heart you feel that you can beat him, but you just can't identify that push, as you say, who takes him to his peak, John, when he's running? Is he peaking too early? We talk about athletes getting hurt right now, and we are sending them to Germany, John, for therapy, John.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that has news that has broken as recent reaction to a top athlete needing the best that the system has available, the best that is available, so that when he competes, he is not held back by lack of nutrition or lack of therapy or lack of a motivational person, John, who is gonna warm them up, motivate them. We see what happened in boxing. Guys in his ears while he's boxing.
Well, let me ask you this in this case, Trevor. This young lady. Are doing something like this, the government, is it putting too much pressure on her?
No.
No, she have to produce.
No, it's actually taking the pressure off her because they identified the talent.
They identified the talent.
Yes.
But in giving her, in providing the family like this, in the mindset now that she's going to have to produce.
Well,
and if she's not meeting a certain standard now, it's going to start playing her mind too,
Well, that is where now you're going to have a psychologist as a part of her team, John. So if it does impact her mentally, that psychologist is going to take care of that part of the training, John. Okay? We talk about Usain Bolt, John, when he's standing there at the starting blocks. How relaxed he is, while other competitors are, trying to motivate themselves with their seriousness. He's there, he's relaxed. No, we cannot say that it is not something that is part of his DNA. The bottom line is that when you see somebody who's relaxed and you're stiffening up, you know that the person who's relaxed has a edge.
Or should you say he appears relaxed?
Well, at least he was. Well, at least he's programmed. At least he has been programmed.
You seen all these young athletes now at the start of a race going through all these gyrations before.
Yes, because they're learning. They're learning even if they have not mastered the craft. That being relaxed means that it will benefit you more than worrying about standing beside the world champion. So I'm just saying that in what the government of St. Lucia has done, they have shown a pilot project to the students there that says, listen, we are behind you. We will support you. Not only
Trevor,
but the family.
And not only St. Lucia, but it seems as if there is more attention now being paid by our Caribbean islands to sport, to athletics, to sports.
Yes.
And the development of their athletes.
Yes, because look listen, St. Lucia, John, I would say just got about $5 billion worth of branding and marketing from what Alfred did. Julian Alfred did at the Winter Olympics, John. Okay, priceless.
No, the Summer Olympics.
At the Summer Olympics. At the Summer. I mean, John, that was priceless, John. You cannot what Usain Bolt.
You can't buy that.
What Usain Bolt has done for Jamaica is priceless. Okay, so spending $1 million to find the next talent, it's not your money you're spending. You're spending the athlete's money. The money that was brought in by the athlete into the country. And the most you can do is say, Julian Alfred, thank you so much for giving us another income stream. And we're going to pour it back into the community, because that's what government is supposed to do when money comes into the country. They are supposed to put it back into the community. They're not supposed to be saying they made a profit. So if they see funds are coming in because of their branding and the marketing that is not available to them, it's smart governments, John, who sends a quick message to the community that we're getting money and we're gonna put it back into our talent, John.
We might have to start auditing governments, Trevor.
Well, I mean, you know. Down in some of the islands, we have some things like what we call integrity commission, who not only try to
better who sign them.
Okay.
Who signed it?
But you see, we have to give full credit when we see things like this, like what happened down in St. Lucia. Even after we have had so many discussions with cricketers and soccer players, and netballers and swimming directors, John, about the lack of investment, even to the minimum, John. I'm not saying everyone has to be like St. Lucia. But our conversations with all these different sports and entities has revolved around the same thing, John. Lack of a foundation and any sort of signal from the government that they are willing to invest in our athletes. The bobsled team, we know they never did. We know that the reggae girls, John, we talk about the Marlies coming to the rescue. Okay. Paris Olympics, we have complaints, John, that people were not allowed to come to the game, okay, at Olympic expense. So I can only give credit and applaud someone when they look inside a village or they look into a trench town or a Tivoli garden and they see a talent down there, John. I said, no. In order for this talent to really blossom, since I've identified the talent as genuine, we are going to offer this person a scholarship. We're going to put them in the best environment for them to succeed. And if that includes the parents and all the other things, we're going to do like this if FIFA does and provide a job for them, John. Okay? Yes. If we had that, then we would maybe stop asking, where did the money go and what can go so?
And incidentally, you know, this young lady, her name is J.D. Emmanuel, you know. I think her aunt is a Cricket Hall of Famer, Rosalind Emmanuel.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
But moving along, Trevor, let's go to some cricket history. India captain Rohit Sharma celebrates a birthday today. He turns 38. He has the highest score in one-day international cricket, which is 264.
Wow.
Which was scored in 2014 against Sri Lanka. He has also scored 2 additional double centuries in one-day international cricket, 209 against Australia, and 208 not out against also Sri Lanka. Now, normally I close my Wednesday roundup with cricket history. However, this evening I close with the sport of kings. As I sat preparing for the report, this report, I heard that old familiar sound coming over my TV. Dun, 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 dun,
Give me
dun,
a spark.
dun, 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 dun. That alerted me, that this Saturday, the first Saturday in May, and means the run for the roses, the
Run for the
Kentucky
roses,
Derby.
yes.
The
Yes.
top contenders, or should I say the early line favorite odds, Journalism at 3-1, Sandeman at 6-1, Sovereignty at 5-1, Rodriguez at 12-1. But my outsider, Trevor, I just like the name, Tastic at 20-1.
20-1. Well, if we could have
With Joy Rosario in the saddle.
John.
And of course, it had nothing to do with breeding or racist one. I just like the name, Tastic.
if only you could have an interview with those horses, John.
Anyway, Trevor, that's where we draw stumps on this afternoon's John Sports Corner on the SosoBone Media Network. Thanks for joining us. And tell a friend that we span the sports globe. Remember again to go to the Winner's Circus Tour in the SosoBone shop and pick up available merchandise that's there. And of course, there's nothing wrong with picking up a couple packets of the great Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee. Enjoy the rest of the week, family, and see you next week. And, as you're ringing, May.